Right, we are live. Slightly later than scheduled. We apologise, or I apologise for that. My PC decided to die right at the 11th hour, which wasn't in my plans, let me tell you. Never mind, here we are. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Deborah Twiss. What can I say about Deborah? Well, she is an American actress. She's co-starred in all kinds of Hollywood movies, too many to name. And she went independent, um, creating some of her own movies where she somebody starred. Other times she produced, direct. One of her notable movies was a movie called A Gun for Jennifer, which um, which featured in something like 27 international film festivals worldwide. Was it 27 or 37? And it gained a cult following in Europe. Then she went on to create series such as A Beautiful Distraction and Crazy Town. I'm just giving a very potted sort of background from Debbie. There's loads more. And then she was involved in a reboot of Hollywood 2.0, which is a fascinating story in and of itself. I'm also going to be covering how manifesting doesn't seem to work like it used to. What used to work now doesn't. And Debbie's also going to share her number one hack that she's found useful to help you manifest and bring into your experience and existence what you want. Um, so there's lots to stick around for. I noticed there's people jumping on already. Do say hi. And if you're catching a replay, leave your comments, any questions you have for Debbie as we go through this. So I want to start by saying thank you for joining me, Deborah, and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. I want to start by asking you what was most satisfying, co-starring in your first Hollywood movie, or bringing to life one of your own creations? I suspect I know the answer to this.
I love making my own stuff. I really do. There's just so much to it because also, the things that I do, I'm 99% of the time the screenwriter behind it. So, it's a vision from the very core of my being. So and it's always special to be on somebody else's set. I love that. If I just show up and act, it feels like a vacation after making my own stuff. So both are nice, but it's so fulfilling when, I deliver a film or a series to a distributor. I mean, it just there's nothing like it. It's fantastic.
So do you know when you're making one of your own creations, and like obviously if you've got a part in it, and you're also like producing, and even if you're not directing, you've also directed. So do you manage to switch off during the process? Can you actually switch off for the day and say, right, I'm going to do something with the kids or the dogs? So do you find that quite easy, or is it like all consuming?
It's almost like in life you breathe air and you don't think about what the elements that are in that air. So this has been so much part of my world. And I mean, when I was 6 years old when I first wrote a script that I performed. So it's always been part of my air. So it's not about turning it off because, like, there's certain elements that are in the air we breathe that I wouldn't say, oh, well, I feel like I'm getting a little too much carbon dioxide in this. And, it's just there and I breathe it. And so that's what it feels like with my stuff. I mean, and everything feeds my creativity. Like I'll be feeding my cats and dogs and I'll notice a certain interaction between them. And it gives me an idea about human characters. So it's always there. But, life and art are so intertwined that I think it has to be.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting. I find it something difficult to switch off when I'm working on something. It's just on my mind all the time. So it's good that you can, and you can um, bring aspects into it in your daily chores and etc. etc. Going back to Hollywood for a moment, when did you realize that there was like a dark side to Hollywood? Was that quite early on, or was it down the line?
Uh, yeah, it was right away in the 90s when we first finished A Gun for Jennifer. And it was impossible to really get decent distribution and everything. At the time, October Films, which was around, and Miramax had similar female revenge kind of things going on. And so we were sort of shelved because, we didn't have a massive budget and there weren't big names in the film or anything like that. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's very interesting. And then also, I had become friends with, do you remember that French film, A Man and a Woman, with Anouk Aimée?
No, I didn't. No.
It's like from, I guess the 1960s or something, but it's a classic French film, and I'd seen it in Paris, and friends of mine there were friends with Anouk Aimée, so I became friends with her through them, and she was going to be in a movie that I was trying to put together, and she would tell me stories about Hollywood and the truth of it. And so, I had her, and then also I was friends with Abel Ferrara, and Abel Ferrara, I mean, the best thing about him, I'd go over to his house with my cup of coffee, and he would just tell me stories and stories and stories about everything, and things about Harvey Keitel and Christopher Walken, and all these amazing things. His fight with trying to get financing for his films and distribution. So these people were my mentors, and they were the ones who taught me what was really going on. And it was funny too, because I was with Anouk Aimée at dinner in Paris, and it was right after Cannes one year. And she looked over at another table. She's like, "Oh my goodness, there's Harvey. I have to say hi to him. Come on, I want to introduce you." So we got up, and it was Harvey Weinstein. And at the table were probably 6 girls, definitely girls. They were between the ages of 18 and 23. They all looked like they were from California, dumb as rocks. I mean, their eyes are just like, and as we walked over, Anouk said to me, she's like, look at who he's with. Check out his dinner dates. And the two of us were giggling. And then, she introduced me to him. But I really kind of put everything into perspective very quickly. That whole situation, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's fine.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So just want to give a shout out to Barry Gray.
Hey, Barry. Good
Yeah,
to see you.
great to see you both. It's been a while. You both look well. Love the beard, Danny. Marvellous to have you jump on and join us, Barry. Thank you for doing so. It's great to see your name pop up on here as well, my friend. I hope you're thriving. Yeah, Harvey Weinstein. That's a name. That's you don't forget in a hurry. Yes.
Yeah.
You were involved in what's been referred to as Hollywood 2.0.
Yeah, I was. And that got sidetracked severely by we went to film this movie Trailblazers, and we went to New Mexico, and it was in October, November of 2021, and we were at the hotel working in the production office, getting ready to film that following Monday at a place called Bonanza Ranch, when all of a sudden on the TV, this news thing comes on, and we see the ranch. And we're like, look, that's our ranch. Oh, wow, that's our church that we're going to shoot in. Wait a second, what's going on? And then we see this alert, and they talked about how Alec Baldwin had accidentally shot the director and the DP. And from there, everything just sort of blew up on itself. Investors pulled out of the film. Crew went sideways. I mean, it was I'm still dealing with some of the legal repercussions because people are trying to accuse me of having taken their money. I mean, it was crazy. It was yeah, whatever. And I'm back now. We were also after New Mexico, because that became completely unworkable because of all these crazy things in that place. We went to Oklahoma, which was just, I don't want to go to Oklahoma again. Let's just say that. And when I finally got home, I got back to New Jersey, 12 miles from Manhattan. I could see the lights from my house, and I love it. I love where I live. I have no desire whatsoever to make movies for a while outside of the New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut area. I just feel, these are my people. This is my place. I can make all kinds of amazing independent things here with people that are fabulous, that understand film. It's like, this is home. This is home. But I'm glad that I had the experience that I did, because nobody could possibly tell me that the grass is greener in, some other miscellaneous place. It's either, I mean, there's a reason why it's either, New York or LA. Sad to say. I mean, yeah, Atlanta exists and things are going on there, a lot of good stuff, but it's always been New York and LA. And that's where the bulk of really talented, knowledgeable crew and cast are based. People that have been through, working on indies as well as studio things. There's a comprehension about what it takes to create, where a lot of the places that have not been kind of brought up in this world, they have a preconceived idea of what the film industry is from what they've watched in, fictional accounts on television or in movies. So,
Right.
yeah.
I still think independents like yourself will come into their own as time progresses.
Well, I mean, even the distributor that I have right now, Breaking Glass Pictures. I mean, they are my partners. I mean, they financed the last movie that I made, Sapiosexual, and I'm in constant contact with them. They're wonderful. They're so supportive of me, and they love the fact that I have a strong voice. They love that I'm a female director. They encourage me to write more and produce, and that exists. Everything that you could possibly ever want or conceive of exists already. You just have to open up to allowing it to come. That's it. And
Yeah.
and it was the last 4 years. I think the real craziness started in 2019. It was kind of like how like when Mercury goes retrograde, they say it's in shadow. Well, I think there was the shadow part of the pandemic that started literally in 2019. It was like around September of 2019 that the shadow started, and you could feel it. You could feel there was something in the air, like something was going to go down. And that this past like 4 years has been such a transformative thing. Like I think what's really fascinating, and this is going to one of the things we were talking about how like the old ways of manifesting don't work. Like, the old ways with The Secret is like, you say what you want, you say what you want, you say what you want, and then it happens. But no, what we had to come to terms with was the fact that as a collective, we were under this false belief, this blanket, this hypnosis, thinking that there was something bigger than us, government, our parents, whatever, that could tell us how to achieve what we needed to achieve. They could say, well, I know what's best for you. I know how you should do this. And they don't say, nobody says you're stupid. It's like when a child, when I was very little, I was 3 years old when I stood in front of the TV and I looked at my parents and I said, when I grow up, I want to be in there with them. And they said, oh, you can't do that. You can't get inside the TV. And I was like, well, yes, I can. And then I was like, okay, well, then you don't ask your parents how you get inside the TV. You just find the way to do it. So, but if I had pursued that line of thought, they would have told me, no, you couldn't get small enough to get inside the TV. The people aren't in the TV, like all these other things. So by looking outside of ourselves, we're giving away all our power, all our inspiration. Like it's all inside of us. There are different experiences I've had because I've been into meditation and manifesting and everything else my whole life. My grandmother's sisters. My grandmother died before I was born, and so her sisters took care of me because my parents were really young. They were 17 and 19 when they had me. They're still together, but they were from Poland, and they were very kind of rooted in things that were beyond Christianity, Judaism, those kind of things. Like that, I even thought to myself that they must have some sort of like gypsy thing in them, because they would talk about manifesting, they would meditate, they would do all these things. So it was always part of my world. And as I grew up and I started to read things like Seth Speaks, and I don't know if you remember these people, that it was Oren and Daben.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you know those. And Snaya Roman, all that stuff. And it was all really good and valuable, but I felt there was something deeper. So then I started seeking out people. And it was fascinating. It was very much like when you look for acting teachers. Like if you go to school for acting, an acting conservatory, they'll teach you how to act or whatever. And then, teach you how to peel away all the shit that's not pure, so that you can then access these other parts of yourself that can portray the character that you're trying to portray, which is really fascinating, because many people think that acting is about pretending or lying. No, it's completely the opposite. It's about the utmost truth about a character that's been written by a screenwriter. So the worst acting teachers will make you feel like you cannot do anything until you learn more from them, because they are the all-being, all-knowing, and you are not good enough yet. You are not good enough yet. They teach you are not good enough yet. And it's not until you realize that their job, their business, is to keep you paying to go to classes rather than going out and doing it. So I realized that. I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm done learning. I need to put this to practice. And then the same thing happened with a lot of the spiritual things, the metaphysical things that I was seeking. I got involved in this group, let's call it the Square, of women. And there was a woman who was the one who was in control of it, and she's trying to like mentor all these other people. And what I found was that very quickly, with somebody being in control, it was about how if I did not, it became very culty. If I did not abide by what this woman was telling me I should do with my life, then I didn't deserve to be part of the group. And it was so strange. It was so creepy. Then I thought, well, this is the turning point, though. This is exactly what I need right now, because I need to know that only in my heart do I know what is right for me. Only by listening to my own personal guides, my connection with source, do I know what's right. And I left. I just left. And it made her crazy. It made a lot of the other people like unfriend me, because it's like, how dare I go against the leader? And in the meantime, though, I found all these wonderful people. I wrote it down. Okay, so there's you, there's Margarita Vabilarov, who has her amazing Pitbull mindset training, Vanessa Petronelli, who's kind of like a life coach, and she coaches people that are trying to go really all out in business. Michelle Colt, who actually is called the nervous system whisperer.
Right.
And all of you guys, what you do is you help us find the strength within. So, it's kind of like the best spiritual teachers and metaphysicians are the ones who say, well, I have a very strong connection to source. So I will hold your hand, kind of like training wheels, and I'll help you get in touch with source through your own way. And I will guide you until you're able to drive this bike on your own. That's what the good ones do. And that's what all of you guys do. And so throughout the whole pandemic in 2019, I've been, doing sessions with you and Margarita and Vanessa and Michelle. And it really did shift me into realizing what the problems have been with myself. And, I always think to myself, and this is how it happens even with like ideas I have for scripts. So if I'm coming up with an idea, it's part of the collective subconscious. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to tap into it. I know that. And I think it's also what's happening with the spiritual thing, where, many people are going through this moment of like, well, that doesn't resonate for me. What what I found out in that meditation group just doesn't feel right inside of me. And so what is right? Or people that are realizing, whatever brand of church or, organized religion they belong to, something doesn't resonate. And so it just like, we've come to question things with big business and social media and politics, like all these things we are questioning. And I think it's because this is part of our evolution. This is what's bringing us from what is called 3D to what is known as the 5D, because it's not about anymore looking outside ourselves and saying, well, that looks good and I want that. Or, this person is going to help me get what I need. It's like, no, this person is going to guide you to find that place inside yourself that connects with the highest energy that will allow you to attract that thing. And one thing that Margarita said to me once, which was really, really powerful, she took me through this meditation, and I would love it if she would do this for the collective because it was so amazing. She said, oh, sorry, I don't know if you hear my dogs all singing the song of the Chihuahuas. But she reminded me that there is a perfect plan. Everything is perfect. Everything is working as it is supposed to. And our only job is to just get in the boat and get in the stream. Very much like an Esther Hicks kind of thing. Like, we think we know. Most of my life, I've tried to control everything. I think it's one of the reasons I like directing and producing and writing and all that stuff. Because it's like, okay, I know this is in my control. So if anything goes wrong, I know. But then look what happened with Trailblazers. I thought I was controlling. I realized I have no control. So the best thing that we can do is stay in alignment with ourselves, like deep breathing, really getting to know like what feels right when something clicks, what feels wrong when something clicks. And when I was in the process of really coming into that sensation and saying, okay, well then what else is there? What else can help guide me on this? There's this guy. He always, when he speaks, he always seems younger than he actually is. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's his, anyway, this guy, Aaron Doty. And he brought to light this thing called reality transurfing, which came from this guy in Russia. I forget the guy's name. I even have his book. But anyway, it's about the idea that we live in a multi-dimensional universe. So every decision, kind of like that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, but that was so like candy, soft, not really going deep enough for the concept was great, but I wanted so much more. I didn't want like the great everything bagel to be part of it. It just seemed to like make fun of itself in the end. But if we think to ourselves, like every choice we make splits reality. And this has been happening since the day we were born. And so there are infinite realities where we have infinite possibilities of, there's already a reality where I've won an Oscar. There's already a reality where I own a rescue ranch that has, 100 chihuahuas and a bunch of cats and goats and chickens and everything else. And people come and stay and like all these different things. There's another reality where I own a med spa. And, I'm a plastic surgeon, one of my dreams when I was little. And so, there's all these different realities. And so if there's something that we want, we have to kind of give potential to the fact that the reason we want it is because it already does exist on a different timeline that we are experiencing. And we're getting that bleed over energy. And so if we can then just through our imagination get aligned with, well, what does that reality feel like? What does it feel like? How is that person? How is that Deb walking down the street with her dogs? What is she thinking? What are the problems? Like, that's one of the things that I realized a lot of people don't think of. They think, okay, well, I'm going to get $1 million and then I won't have any problems. It's like, no, that's not realistic. What would be a better way to imagine it is like, okay, I have $1 million. I made $1 million. Now I've got to get a better accountant. and I gotta get a better lawyer, and I better be on top of what's going on in the stock market, and all these things. Like, and if you go down that path of thinking about all the things that you're gonna have to think about when you have that thing, all of a sudden you've opened up your energy to that entire reality, and then you start to see like little hints of it coming through. And then the job is to just like say, okay, yeah, take that. That's part of the reality. The fact that like I just saw this thing on Facebook scrolling through about this really great accountant that deals primarily with artists. you know, that's like something that is meant for this other reality that I'm moving into. And so, it's a very, I think if we do really, they always say live from the feeling. It's beyond that. It's more than just living from the feeling. It's really, really diving in and being the character in that movie. And that's why the fun thing is, as an actor, and this is where everybody has that ability to, when you read a book, you see yourself as one of the characters. Even if it's just the person that's standing there witnessing it all. You're watching, you're part of it. And so we all have the ability to slip into a different identity. And that is one of the things that I think makes this new way that I like to play this so much more fun and so much more of an adventure. Because it's not about, oh, now I have to do my affirmations. Oh, now I have to do like this mirror work. Oh, now I have to like go and tap all over my face and do EFT. It's like, no, now like let's see what the magic is that I can discover that will help me, draw in and meld with this other reality that I know exists. So it could be so fun. It could just be like, I think that's what our lives are meant to be. They're meant to be an adventure. So we don't need, I bought this thing, the metaverse goggle things.
Right.
I haven't hooked it up because I'm like, wait a second, the graphics aren't going to be nearly as good as what I have in my imagination. Right?
No, not even close. You've touched on so many things there. You've got me thinking as well. And these days, I never try and create when I'm feeling resistance. If I'm feeling tired, just resistance in any kind, I don't go forward with something. Whereas in the past, I would try and push through regardless. It never works. Now, when I'm feeling high energy, inspired, that's when I'll reach out to someone. That's when I'll try and move forward, and it happens effortlessly then. And yeah, I know you mentioned you were out walking one day. And that's when you discovered a new. So I'll let you describe it.
Well, it was so fun because things have been great and shitty and great and shitty. Like it's like a roller coaster. And I knew that I needed to get myself out of the house while I was waiting for things to happen. So after I dropped my daughter off for college in California, I came back and I was like, okay, I need to do something. What do I love? I was like, I don't want to work at a restaurant. I don't want to do this. But I need money, but I need to be outside, but I love animals. My dogs are Chihuahuas. Their legs are this big, so they can't walk that long. And, the fall is really beautiful in New York, New Jersey. So I was like, okay, maybe I could go be a dog walker. So I got to be a dog walker, and I was walking 6-8 hours a day. It was so fun. And I loved all the dogs, and I was outside. Then I realized, I was like, wait a second, I've got all this time. This is a perfect way to do a walking meditation. I love being outside. I love all dogs. I love meeting new people, walking down the street, just saying hi to neighbors and like, okay, so I'm in such a high vibration place. What if I started to imagine different things? So then I thought to myself, okay, let's try something crazy. Let's imagine that, what do I want right now? Because at that point, I had just finished my film Sapiosexual, and I was hoping to get the money to do a next film in the fall. But then I was like, oh, I'm so tired. It was so hard. I like edited every day, and I was stuck on my butt, like editing and being in the house. And now what do I really want? And I was like, well, I want to star in something. I was like, okay, well, is that crazy? I'm like, doesn't matter. Just pretend. I was like, okay. So what do I want? I want it to be a feature film. I want to have a lead role. I want it to be really fun with people I know, I like, that I already have worked with, and yeah. And how does that feel? And then I was like, yeah. and then getting the script and marking it up and, you know, coming up with really great choices for the character and just being able to, like, you know, be in that for a lot of days. And, you know, and then I was like, okay, let's breathe it in. So I play this game that I invented when I was in high school, where I breathe in God and source, and I let it go all the way down to like my butt. And then I let it shoot back up and come out my heart as love. So it's like breathe in source and light and God, and then breathe it out as love. And it's just like this thing. It's like this mantra breathing exercise I do. So after I envisioned what I wanted, I was like, okay, breathe in the light, breathe out love. And just like, I am just like this tool, this beacon that is here to just, you know, take in and spread love, take it in and spread it, just that. And literally 10 minutes later, I get a call from my friend who is the executive producer on this movie. And, you know, one of my favorite people in the world, this guy, Gabriele Altobelli, is this director from Rome. And the executive producer said, you know, Gabrielle's coming to town. We're going to make this erotic thriller. And we'd love for you to play the lead FBI agent, Victoria. And I was like, I laughed. I was like, are you kidding? Like, really? I said, you know, and the guy's name is Charlie. He's so great, Charlie Randolph. And I was like, Charlie, I literally was thinking about something like this 10 minutes ago. You have no idea. And then I went and I did it. I worked like 15 or 17 days on the film. And it was so much fun. And I just love them. And I mean, but it was that moment. And so then, later, I guess it was October, you know, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, this is going to end. And then I have to find, you know, something else to keep me occupied, keep me out of trouble. And so I was like, I know, I'll become a real estate agent. And I was like, do you really want to do that? I was like, well, I love going to Manhattan and I love Manhattan real estate. And yeah, that'll be fun. It'll be fun. So I bought the course. And sure enough, like every time I turn around, I get booked on another job. I can't quick get to it. And then finally, I guess it was 2 days ago, I was like, that's it. That's it. I'm taking off the next 6 weeks. I'm going to finish this course. I'm going to get certified. I'm going to get my license. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to make a lot of money so that I can finance movies. And I was like, wait a second. Why do you feel like you just want to go to bed right now or throw up? And I was like, well, apparently that is not the right path. So I was like, okay, well, what do you really want, Deb? What do you want? I was like, I just want to make movies. That's all I want. I just want to make movies. I'm like, yeah, but you know, and then the yeah buts came, and I was like, wait, no, that's not real. The yeah buts are not real. The yeah buts are me trying to control it. So no yeah but. Dream. Just dream. Dream. What if you could do anything? What would it be? Like, well, everything I already do, but I'd just do it with like a little more money, people that know what the fuck they're doing. Oh, am I not allowed to curse? Anyway, and you know, there's a ton of people that I know I love and adore, and I want them part of it. So, and then I was like, okay, just then let it go. It'll come. Just trust it'll come. Whatever it is, it'll come. And I mean, it was yesterday morning. It was yesterday morning at 5 a.m. because I woke up, I did all these breathing exercises. I was just like, just let it get out of the way. Just get out of the way, Deb. You know what you want. Just wait. It's all going to come. Just know it's going to come. 5:30, I got a text from this guy who I'd met several years ago, who always was quiet within these group texts and everything. And he said, you know, I'm part of this new thing, and there's a lot of potential. I remember all the great things that you did when you were involved in this other project, you know, and I've watched from afar, and I've looked at your IMDb. I really think you'd be a great partner in these things. And I'm like, seriously? Oh, great. Thank you. And then later that afternoon, we ended up talking on the phone. And then this morning I heard back from him again. And, you know, here this is going to just start moving forward and happening. And I thought, this is how you do it. You get out of your own damn way. Stop saying the yeah buts or what if. The second that comes in, it's like, hush you. Get out of my face. I'm playing here. It's like a little kid. Like if there's, you know, a 3-year-old in a sandbox and they're building sand, and it's like the mom comes over. This used to happen to me all the time. when my kids were little, we were living in Brooklyn. We would go to these great playgrounds that had sandboxes, and they'd be playing, and I'd look and be like, oh gosh, we got to go because I got to make dinner and all this other stuff. And I'd go to stop them, and they'd be like, no, I'm doing something. Stop. That's how we have to be with our thoughts that try to distract us from our path. That's what we have to do. Instead of saying, oh yeah, you're right. Like, we have to be that feisty little 3-year-old that says, no, I'm not done. No, I haven't achieved my mission. I'm going to achieve this. Get away, get out of my face, you bad thoughts. You bad parent that's trying to like stop me.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a big spurt of growth these past months. And I know when you were talking about, I want to become a realtor to make lots of money so that I can then go on and finance my own movies. And they say it's the so that try and bypass, as you've already alluded to, you bypass the so that and just go and do what it is you want to do and have utter faith and trust and keep following the hunches and the nudges and the inspiration and the next step and the next step and the random phone call that comes in or the text message or the email or feeling urged to reach out to the next person. And something else as well I wanted to bring in, when we used to ask the universe for this or ask the parent or pray to God or, I'm not dissing those things, but if you work on the premise, where is God, source, universe, not? We are part of the whole, part of the divine, all connected. So some people say if you pray or ask the universe, you're actually asking yourself. It's like because we are it. We are, you can't divide. We are indivisible to it, all connected. So it comes through you, for you. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking when you were talking there. It's fascinating stuff, and it sounds like that's what you've been doing, even more so.
Well, and I just had this image come to mind. We've always thought God was out there, the answers were out there, all this other stuff. Remember old-fashioned TVs when you would turn them off? The picture goes like this, and then it's like a little pin, and then it like fades. I believe that is what we are. I believe that we are a projection, just like that. And so everything that is our source, everything that is God, everything that is where we came from, when we are done, it goes back. I think that's how, they say it's not without, it's within, but it's that. And it's like almost like a vortex, but like an inverted kind of thing. And I've always had this belief too, that we are meat suits. We are meat suits. That's our avatar that we have so that we can interact in this 3D game that we are part of. And part of us being able to do this interaction is that we had to kind of check a bunch of our knowledge at the door. Otherwise, we couldn't play the game well. We had to realize that we're not connected. We had to think. We had to be under the false belief that we are not connected, that everything that we need is outside of us. Basically everything that you could possibly imagine would be part of being a human being on this planet is part of the game. And it's not about the truth, because the truth is eternal. And that is what we are. Like I think it's one of the reasons why people have such a fear of death, because they fear it's the end, it's all black. And there's such a connection to being in this situation where we've given up our power, where if we come to terms with the fact that we are eternal and we are all connected and we're all part of this amazing bubble of creativity, that is very soothing. Like, that is more soothing than anything, than any idea of like, going to heaven and having God judge you or something like that. It's like, this is, and I actually, I've had a lot of crazy dreams. I've dreamt about a future incarnation that I have, where I am, it's like late 2000s, before 2100. And I'm walking around in Brooklyn near where I lived when I first had my kids. And I'm about 20 years old. And I have this memory of having been me, Deborah. And I remember who my daughter is. And I know where she lives. She lives on the Upper East Side at that point. And she's an old lady. And I'm talking to this guy that I'm with. And I tell him, like, I remember I used to push the kids in strollers here. and I've got to go find Sydney. I've got to find her. She's on the Upper East Side. And the guy says to me, he's like, even though now everybody accepts that we are eternal and we're reincarnated, how do you know that this woman is going to believe you? And I looked inside myself as this new person that I will eventually be. And I said, because I raised her and I know she'll believe me. It was the craziest thing. And I've had many dreams about this next incarnation. And I've had dreams about past lives as well. And I'm never, this is why I know they're true, because I've never been like, royalty or famous people or anything like that. I'm like, not. But it's a very fascinating thing. Like when we start to think about, okay, well, what are some things that I want to set up for my next life? And if we start to imagine that we are eternal, and what if some of us do start hacking the system? What if like we embed in our future incarnations that we are aware, we are born somewhat aware, so that we've at least got some breadcrumbs laid down so that it makes the game even more fun. I think it's possible. And I think that's part of moving from 3D to 5D, that we start to accept some of these things that a lot of people tell us we're crazy, or religion says, oh, that can't be because God said no. It's like, God didn't say no. Humans said no. God never said no. It's kind of like in acting, you do these things called improvisation games. And this is the one that I always loved, is yes and. Like when you're doing an improvisation, I say to you, oh, the sky is red. And you say, yes, and that usually means there's a fire. And I say, yes, and where are we going to look for the fire? And so it goes on. Where if you say no, that stops the flow. That stops any creativity. That stops everything. So I know that I get off on these little tangents, and this is how my crazy squirrel brain works.
No, they're fascinating tangents. And I'm sitting here just listening. I'm captivated. Because like you say, everything's happening now. The past, the present, the future, potential timelines, albeit on different planes of existence, just waiting to be tapped into, whether for inspiration, guidance, or how to pull yourself towards that reality. Because we are it. We are already abundance, health, wealth, love, all of it. Always have been, always will be. It's just, telling ourselves stories to the contrary is what keeps us small, and what keeps us believing that there is some kind of separation, and that what we want is somehow separate from us, or we don't deserve it. How can you not? How can you not deserve it? We were born deserving.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And I do believe that the time that we've all been forced into these lockdowns and everything else has been a massive possibility of potential for many, many people to kind of sit with themselves, and come to terms with, what do I really want? Who am I? Like, why am I doing things the way I'm doing them? Does it really serve the vision that I always had in my life? No. And if something isn't serving the vision, then you got to change something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so much about you and what you went through, because that was 2019. That was December 2019, right?
2020 was December 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's even more fascinating then, because it was after the lockdowns. So I'm very interested in, what were you thinking? What were you going through in your mind during those lockdowns that may have allowed this to blossom to the point where you needed to get it out of you? That's,
Yeah, my thoughts leading up to the cancer were very negative and dark, to be honest. I've been going down a lot of rabbit holes, and I'd lost my mojo. That was just the start of it. I'd lost my faith in humanity, lost my faith in people, I'd lost my faith in where we were headed. And I was thinking, if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't care. And that was, the narrative running through my mind. So it's hardly surprising I end up developing cancer. Whereas now those thoughts, I don't allow them. I I just stop them in their tracks and I'll observe them. If when they keep on going for another few seconds, they might do, but then they just disappeared. So, being honest, that was my thought processes were quite dark.
That is so fascinating. That is really, really fascinating. And what a great lesson, honestly, in the end, to see how such dark thoughts can create ailments.
Yeah. So when I hear people saying things that they may or may not mean, and they don't realize, that thoughts are so creative, feelings are so creative, and it was a lesson for me in how creative they actually are.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I mean, you don't talk very much about what your ultimate goal is in life, what your ultimate fantasy. Like if you could live the life that you want more than anything, what does that look like?
That's something I struggle with to this day. I don't know what I want, which is frustrating. Um, I keep waiting for inspiration to land, but it doesn't work like that. You've got to tell the universe or put your feelings out there as to what you want. I used to be quite ambitious, but then I realised the things I wanted perhaps weren't what I really wanted. Um, I don't know. Like I wanted to be not famous, but I wanted to make a difference in the world and to affect a lot of people. And then I realised no, it's not that as such. I know speaking to Barefoot Doctor as I used to, he was famous back in the day, and he said nearly destroyed him. And it's an illusion, and it's he couldn't wait to push all that aside and become, go back into the shadows. He didn't want to know any of it. He didn't want to do TV work anymore. He didn't. He stopped.
Wow.
So I don't know what I want. I really don't. I wish I did. It's a bone of contention.
Well, is it possible that you're halfway in what you want? And that's why you don't know, because it's right there in front of you and you're in it?
Possibly, because they say, don't you, you are exactly where you're supposed to be in this moment. Sometimes I think that's a cop out, but I don't know. But it always fascinates me, and I'm kind of envious, not in a bad way, with people who know what they want. They just go and get it, and they say, right, this is what I want to create next, and then they go for it. I'm like, wow, good for you. Yeah,
Huh. Interesting.
it's a funny one. Maybe I just got a bit jaded for a while. Had a couple of years where things went off the rails, losing money and health, and losing my father and stuff. I don't know if that's just kind of slowed me down for a while. Well, it did slow me down for a while. Who knows? But
Huh.
forever the optimist.
Good. That's the key. Well, do you go out walking and stuff like that very often in nature, just quiet alone?
Not so much nature, but I love to go out walking, even if it's just round, for a half an hour or something, or an hour. I do love to walk. It's around the streets, around the estates.
Mm.
Where I live is on banks, so gets the cardiovascular going as well.
That's very cool.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
that's nice. Maybe like go out with the question one day,
Yeah.
like, and just breathe. Try my little God love thing, that breathing exercise while you're walking, and just say, ask, while I'm on this walk, I just would love to see what I'm supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
what the divine plan is, and then just breathe, and ideas will come. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. I was actually thinking that anyway, to be honest, having spoken to you. So I thought, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll give it a try. Yes.
It's really fun, especially when if you realize like all you have to do is wait, and the answers come. They always come if you ask. I mean, ask and you shall receive. It's a statement for a reason, and especially when it's information, because we are just these massive meaty computers, meaty, MEA
Yes.
And, we can get these bits of information directly from source in the universe and the collective subconscious, and it's all there. It's all there. We just have to be able to hear it. We have to tune our antennas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why the walking and the breathing is great, because you're just in reality rather than sitting. Like, I find always when I'm doing a walking meditation, it's better because there's a rhythm. There's like it's I guess for like, if for a lot of people, if they do Kundalini yoga or something where it's just like this thing that you do over and over. But if you're walking and you're breathing, it's the absolute connection between outside forces, the physical and the emotional and mental. And that's where we can get into that absolute peace. Where I know if I'm just sitting still meditating, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I still meditate often, but I'm a lot more present going throughout my day than I ever used to be as well. So it's even just going about my day. I'm quite present these days, which is nice. Which is lovely.
That's excellent.
Yeah. It's I don't know if you've got any final thoughts.
I wanted
before
to
we-
tell you something else. I wanted to,
Please
because I
do.
I had all these. Oh, yes. Okay. Somebody who's not really into metaphysics, but it's like a more physical, grounded way of getting into this stuff. You know who Mel Robbins is? The woman.
I don't think so.
Well, she has like this 5-second rule thing where it's like, if you can think of something, like you meditate, you get into your quiet space, and you come up with an inspiration, and then you have to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you have to do something about it. And it's the same way with, like, if you're laying in bed after the alarm goes off and you're like, oh, okay, I should go and wash my face. Instead of thinking about it, it's like, okay, I have to do it then. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And what it does is she describes it perfectly in her podcasts and everything, but it brings like our ideas into the physical and helps you get moving immediately on it. I'll share something with you. I'll send you her podcast. It's really good. But I've been doing the High Five Daily Journal for 5 months now, and it's really excellent because it's about, like, what I do is I write down the different things that I'm trying to manifest, and then I do this whole thing about like why, like how I feel having it, how I feel. And then I take 20 minutes, just sit there and bask in the energy of all those feelings being mine now. And it changes things, and more inspiration comes. And the thing is too, with the things that I'm finding, the more you listen to instinct, downloads, that kind of stuff, the more information you'll get. It's a great feedback tool. You know how much you're paying attention if you're getting more. And if you're not paying attention right, the messages stop and it's time to pivot. Like, that's something that I definitely came into being far more in tune with since September. Where, if I hear nothing, if I ask for a message and I hear nothing, then I'm out of alignment somehow. Because anytime I want to have any kind of guidance, if I ask for it and I'm aligned, I get it immediately. It's clear as day. So it's fascinating other piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, it is. That's interesting. Yeah, I've got a lot to learn. But haven't we all?
Oh,
Every day is a school day, isn't it? Yes.
It is. It's this is the best adventure ever.
Yeah.
It really is. But I think, it really would be a cool thing if the world could move into more of an acceptance of the fact that we are so multidimensional, and reincarnation is absolutely real. And be able to carry, like, how great would it be if you could carry over a lot of the wisdom that you've gotten into another life, and you reboot with a whole new body, you're a baby, but you're laying there while people are changing your diaper and feeding you and loving you up and everything. You start to remember all the good stuff that you learned, so that you can go forward with that. How cool could that be?
Yeah, exactly. What a note. What a wonderful note to end on. I'll certainly take that. You've been an absolute delight, Deb, as always. Thank you so much for joining us, sharing your wisdom, your insights, your inspiration.
Thank you.
And thank you for those watching or catching a replay. If you've got any questions for Deb or comments, please leave them, and we'll circle back to you. Much love to you all. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Thanks, Dan.